Hey everyone, and welcome to This Podcast Needs a Title. I am barely awake this morning for some dog reasons, and I'm Erica Davis. And joining me as a substitute for Ciara Duggan is Isabel frickin' Sterling, author and coach and emotional support writing buddy of mine. And everybody, if you recall, she's been on the show before. I think you were guest number...
I feel like it was 13. I feel like it was in that realm.
Oh, like 13, lucky 13.
Maybe somewhere in that range.
We are lucky enough to be joined today by our other emotional support writing buddy, Vanessa Montalban. First, Isabel, my co-host in arms, can you tell our listeners a little bit about you?
Yeah. So I'm Isabel Sterling. I am the author of These Witches Don't Burn, This Coven Won't Break, and The Coldest Touch.
Ooh.
I have an unannounced project that'll be out probably in 2024. Stay tuned. And I'm also a master certified coach, and I help writers break up with burnout. And I'm so excited to be here.
I'm really happy you're here. We are sending all our love and wellness and tiny overlord joy to Ciara Duggan, who has a new boss. He's probably about 9 or 10 pounds now, and he's beautiful. In the meantime, let's get our beautiful guest, Vanessa, in here. Vanessa has a book coming out very, very soon called A Tall, Dark Trouble. Vivi, do you want to tell us a little bit about yourself to start? Oh, excuse me, Vanessa. I call her Vivi.
You can stick with Vivi. It's fine.
I'm going to have to. It's going to be a lot of editing otherwise. Vanessa, tell us about yourself.
I am Vanessa Montalban. I am the writer of YA contemporary stories. And my first one is debuting now in August 29th with Zando Publishing. It's called A Tall Dark Trouble. Woo! Woo! And yeah, I'm pretty new to this whole publishing experience. So I don't really have like a long bio yet.
You will.
You don't seem new to it. You have a stunning book coming out. You're in our emotional support writing buddies group. And yeah, what's going on?
Well, I'm new to like breaking into it, I guess you would say. But like I've been trying for a very long time. I'm trying to think back. I think it was in 2008 when I had my son. And I don't know why I just do the best writing when I'm pregnant. But anyway.
Are you serious?
I do. Yeah. I don't know if it's like all the emotions that I'm just like, yeah, now that the kids are older, it doesn't help at all. So in 2008, I finished my first book, and I did a ton of research on querying, but apparently not enough because like I sent out some horrible queries.
You're rite of passage.
It is a rite of passage. I think so. Yeah.
So that one actually, I got tired of querying agents because I wasn't getting I was getting full requests, but I wasn't getting anything further than that. The book just wasn't ready, but I didn't.
That's good though. Like to get full requests on your first time out query, and like
I was very happy. I didn't, but then I got frustrated, and I was like, so what's the next step? Like, what else can I do? I tried submitting to small indie presses, but in 2016, I found a small indie press that offered on my book. And I was going to debut with that book, but then my editor left and everything fell through. So, which was good because that's not the book that I wanted to debut with, or at the moment it was. But so after that, I got going on the second book. I started querying that one. I got an agent with that one. It died on submission, which is fine. And I broke ties with that agent as well. And during that whole time, I was writing A Tall Dark Trouble. And I don't know, I just had a really good feeling about this one because it was like the first one that I got real with it.
Really? What do you mean real?
I don't know. It was just infused with a lot of my life. The characters are a lot like me and my siblings. So I was just like, I don't know. I feel like this book is mine. And I did like a Latinx pitch and DV pit on Twitter. Really happy with all the responses. So I started querying those agents, and I got Danielle Burby, which Isabel is very familiar with.
Also my agent.
And she's just been wonderful to work with. She got the submission package ready and sent it out to editors. And yeah, and then Tiff Liao from Zando gave us a wonderful preempt and took off from there.
Yeah. I don't know what preempt means. What is that?
Okay. Wait, let me think. How would you describe it, Isabel? So
a preempt is an offer from a publisher that usually is on like the larger side where they're like, we're going to give you this really great offer if you just stop shopping it because we want it. This is so enticing. We don't want you to take this to auction. Like, we want this book. Please just give it to us.
I didn't.
So usually it happens pretty quick. And it's sort of their way of being like, listen, we're going to treat you right. Like, don't shop around. Like, we really want it is sort of what a preempt is.
So yeah, all that happened before like we could set an auction, and then we're just like, okay, this is a great deal.
Yeah.
And then yeah, the rest, you know where I am.
I do. Well, that's what our listeners
Want to know.
Is it just the one book in the preempt?
No, so it's a 2-book deal, but they're both standalones.
Oh, nice.
Which is great.
Have you already started planning the second one?
It's done. Yeah, I finished writing it just last week.
Oh, that's the one.
I am half Cuban, half Nicaraguan. So A Tall Dark Trouble is like an homage to my Cuban side. And book 2 is very much my Nicaraguan side. You know, I tackle those themes in the book.
Is there an expected release date for that?
I don't know yet. So yeah, depending on how long it takes to edit and stuff, we'll see.
Okay, so it's just turned into your editor now.
Not officially. I want to like just polish it just a little bit. I was letting it simmer for a little bit. And then now I'm just going back and revising.
So when you were writing A Tall Dark Trouble, you know, you didn't have a book deal yet. Like, you had an agent, but you were sort of like on your own. It was this thing you love to do. And now when you were drafting your book 2, like, it's under contract. It's like a job. So how is drafting different, if at all, because now that it's not just a hobby?
I got really lucky in the fact that I already had 70% written before I got my contract. Nice. I didn't you guys know how I was pulling my hair to finish this, but I did finish it. And at the end, like, it was just a smoother transition because it was already partly written. I also have another book that's already partly written that I'm going to be focusing on too. So yeah, I had a lot of half-cooked books.
That's awesome. That's bad thing. I think that's past Vanessa, past Erica, past Isabel helping out future us. Just like,
exactly.
Yeah, you don't need this now, but you're going to. So it's, like switching the laundry before you know you're ready to fold it. Oh, what a powerful metaphor.
Yeah. Laundry.
Kiss.
Riveting.
On fire today. I think because I have wet stuff sitting in the wash. Now, Isabel, I do want to turn the tables for a minute to you. What was it like drafting a book now that you knew it wasn't just a hobby?
Yeah, I think it's changed a lot because my debut sold in 2017. Mm-hmm. And it's now 2023. So it's been a number of years.
Yeah.
And the first couple of years after it was sort of like, this is under contract and I have to do this, I put a lot of pressure on myself to get it right, to try to impress my editor. And that led to a lot of burnout. And that's why I do the work I do now. Because I got to a point where like I had like achieved my dream, but I was really miserable because I was just so afraid that I would screw it up. So afraid that like I would never get another chance and I just wanted to do it right. So that's sort of like where I initially was. And I just like felt like I could never take any days off because if I wasn't at my day job, I needed to be writing and it was just sort of like a mess. But I think that's pretty common for a lot of writers. And then now I've been able to get to a place where I really delight in the fact that it's my job. And like, that is really cool for me of like this week I got to move my schedule around and be like, I spent 3 or 4 hours on Monday, just like writing the new chapter of a new book and our first chapter of a new book. And it was just like, this is my job. Like, how fucking cool. This is my job. Amazing. But it took several years to get to like, how fucking cool from like, oh, I better not fuck it up.
Please check out the Author Burnout Coach podcast. And we'll link that as well because
it's had a rebrand. It's the Author Burnout Cure now.
Oh my God. I think you told me that and I absolutely forgot.
Yeah.
ABC. I love
ABC.
that. Let's talk about branding for a second. Vivi, I just noticed you're wearing a Tall Dark Trouble shirt.
Oh yeah, I wore it for the occasion.
I love that. Where did you get that?
Zazzle.
So you designed it?
I did, yeah. It has this little icon of like tarots and the title, and then
oh my God, the covers on the back. Are those available for purchase by any chance?
I mean, I keep getting those questions online, like through, I put like this photo on IG of just my shirt. And they're like, hey, is this for sale? I was like, oh, people actually want it. I just the gym for myself. Like,
Branding. Then your gym membership becomes a tax write-off because you are marketing yourself for work.
That is so funny, Erica. Before we hit record and before you'd hopped on, we were literally talking about tax write-offs.
Mhm.
Oh my God, it's such an interesting topic, and I'm old now. I'm into it.
I was literally in QuickBooks right before we hit record. I was like, I just bought some books. I'm like, these are a write-off.
You write it off.
Ew, David.
Ew, David.
Schitt's Creek, right? That's what I'm thinking. Like, I walk into the bookstore all the time. I'm like thinking, write off.
Is your Zazzle set up where people in the public can purchase that shirt?
I have no idea how to do that. Show me, and I will definitely do it. I just Googled how to make a custom shirt.
So speaking of like being giddy about stuff like this, what did you do when you found out about the preempt? New word.
Oh my goodness. Like, I got the email from Danielle. She just said, like, let's get on a call. And I knew it was something good.
Yeah,
Oh,
really.
I had butterflies, and I was like, oh. So we got on a call like 20 minutes later, not even. And I'm just walking around outside my house because the inside is always noisy. She tells me, and I just start screaming. Poor Danielle, screaming in her ear. But
I'm sure she was prepared.
She was probably ready for it.
She was so excited too. Like, it was just so much fun. I couldn't believe it. I'm still kind of in shock. Like, sometimes you go through your days and you forget that this stuff happens, and you're like, oh crap, for real. I sold a book. And then I remember again. And so, yeah, it was an amazing, amazing day. I called my husband. He was like whisper screaming at work.
Oh, that's awesome. What did you tell your kids?
Yeah, I came inside with my kids. They're like, oh, wow, are we rich now? And then
gotta love kids. Oh, it's so cute.
Can you make me a sandwich? And that's it. Yeah.
What's it like going from drafting and revising with just writing buddies or critique partners or beta readers to an editor?
Yeah, I mean, huge difference. Like, well, my critique partners that I've had for many years are incredible. Like, they've helped me whip my book into shape so many times. And it's just like, they're great sounding boards, and I love them to death. Editor is just like, this is what they get paid to do. You know, like, this is their profession, and they are just so mind-blowingly good at it. They just know exactly where you need to rip apart the book and piece it together, but there's this guiding hand throughout the whole thing where you're not going at it alone. So you know exactly what to do to make this book better and make it stronger.
Oh, what about for you, Isabel?
Yeah, well, the metaphor that's coming to me, which is maybe a little weird, but it's like critique partners are typically, you know, other writers, and they've read a lot of finished books, and they've, you know, probably gone through some of their own work. But a professional editor, especially at like one of the big houses, like, they have seen books from first draft to completion over and over and over and over. So they just have a different way of looking at things and understanding how the pieces work together. And I'm thinking of it, this is where the metaphor gets funny. It's sort of like if you wanted to like master making sausages, and you could either get advice. I know this is going to go weird. You can either get advice from people who really like eating sausage and know if it's good when they get there, versus somebody who's made it for 30 years and is like, no, your ratios are wrong, and I can tell you exactly how to fix it, versus like, I like it or I don't.
It's no washing machine, a metaphor, but it'll do.
It's just it's different to be able to, and because I do a little bit of this too when I work with my clients, of like, it's different to be able to look at a book and really understand exactly how books work. Also knowing that like there's also just a little bit of magic, and so there's not really a formula, but being able that kind of blend of like really being able to diagnose what's not letting the words pop off the page is like, it's like a very specific skill set that not every writer just has, because they also write their own books.
Yeah. I first had the interview with Tiff, or not interview, that we spoke for the first time. She asked me, she's like, what are the things you most love about this book? And what do you want to focus and keep about this book? And I think that makes such a great editor, like going into a revision and looking at it through the author's eyes, like what's the most important theme that the author wants to keep? Because the thing with critique partners, a lot of times, sometimes, they'll want to change things how they would change it because they're writers differently, because I'm a writer and this is what I would, like how I would fix this. But with an editor, they're looking at it through your eyes, kind of, or like in a way, like what's important to the author? How can I maintain their authentic voice in the most cohesive manner?
It's all about helping you achieve your vision.
Exactly.
I just had a similar talk with one of my clients who's embarking on a revision, and she was talking about like being afraid of like changing too much or cutting. And basically what I told her was like, especially when you're going from like draft 1 to draft 2, it's a little different when you're a little bit deeper in the process and you're, by the time you're working with an editor, you've probably been through the book a number of times, especially for your debut. But I told her like, figure out what the heart of the book is. Think what's most important. And then anything else can change to better serve that heart. Yes. So can we talk a little bit more specifically about A Tall Dark Trouble? Oh. And so I'd love to maybe have you start with giving us the basic pitch for the book. And then I have a couple of questions.
Ooh, good. Okay. So A Tall Dark Trouble is multiple point of views and a dual timeline. So it takes place both in 1980s Cuba during the Mariel boat lift, which brought like over 125,000 Cubans to Miami shores. It also takes place in Miami 2016 for historical reasons that I can't give away yet. But to give the quick elevator pitch, it's twin psychic sisters from Miami predict a grisly murder. When their vision comes true, it puts them in the path of a dangerous brujo cult. The only way to survive is to dig up the past their mother tried leaving behind in Cuba.
Just got chills.
Okay.
So good. I was lucky enough to read an early copy. So good. And I'm just, one of the things that I would love to hear about from you is sort of what made you decide that you wanted to have the dual timelines of the 80s and 2016?
So I grew up listening to my dad tell me stories because he came in the Mariel, and it was a very harrowing experience for him. Like he had to get in a shrimp boat that was basically sinking under the weight of so many people trying to leave. He had to rescue a mom and a baby escaping, like people throwing bottles at them for trying to leave Cuba. The boats that he was on sank and they had to get rescued by US, Coast Guard. It's just like such a traumatizing experience for him. And he grew up telling me these stories all the time. And I love listening to it. It's part of like, it just shows like everything he risked to like give us a new life, or like to give himself a new life, but also in doing so, give me and my siblings a new life. It's just very special. I also wanted to write about me and my experience growing up in Miami and what it's like to straddle multiple cultures, how I never feel Cuban enough or American enough. And like, just this, being in the middle of the diaspora disconnection, if you will. So I figured the dual timelines could encapsulate both our experiences and bring them together.
And hearing you talk about that, like having read the book, I also have chills, is like, I think that was so clear. Like there was just like so much sort of pain and turmoil and trying to leave. And then also some like, there's also an element of sadness for some of the characters of like having to have left. It sort of felt like they needed to, but also like that was their home. And he did such a good job of capturing that.
Oh, thank you. It's just, yeah, I mean, I'm glad I did, because that's another thing. Like, I'll never understand what that's like. I'll never understand what it's like to have to leave. Well, hopefully, I'll never have to understand what it's like to have to leave your home.
What did your dad think about this book coming into life?
Oh, he's super excited. Like, he doesn't really read any books, and he mostly only speaks Spanish. He calls me all the time and he gives me all these, he loves sci-fi. He's a big Star Trek fan. Always like throwing these ideas at me, like, oh, now you could write about this and now you can write about he's telling me to write like Marvel stories. I'm like, I can't just write a Marvel story.
What was it like telling your family about it all?
It was so exciting. Like, my mom has never doubted that I was going to be a writer. It actually, like, my first experience in publishing was this poem. I used to write poems all the time. and I got a book in the mail, a letter in the mail saying that they wanted to publish one of my poems. And they
Oh,
did. They published it in their book. And I'm so excited, so proud of myself. And then I come to find out years later that my mom paid to
Oh,
that's still really
though.
sweet.
It's so sweet. And like she's never doubted it for a second. So
Go
they're very
mom.
supportive. My dad, on the other hand, he wanted me to become a nurse. And I'm like, oh, you see?
That feels very like, yeah, protective parent of like, just do something that I understand, that I know you'll be okay and you'll make money.
How do you know when you need a break from writing?
Binging a TV show. And that's how I know that I need a break. And it's usually a TV show that I've already watched a million times over. And that'll clue me in like, okay, my brain actually needs to reset.
Okay.
Yeah. And I'll just start, like, I'll get this itch that I need to start New Girl again, or I need to start Schitt's Creek again, or I need
Something
not
different.
only that, that's just like my indicator that something's off. Like,
Oh,
and I feel the need to like disconnect so heavily that I just can't focus on anything else other than consuming media
yeah.
or consuming a book or consuming, a favorite TV show. I just know that I'm like starting to seek that comfort. And yeah, and I'll give myself that break. And usually it could last a few weeks or it could last a month or, whatever it needs. I'm learning not to infuse that time with guilt.
Yeah. That's what I was just going to say is like the time away, like if you're feeling guilty that you're not writing, like that time that you're not writing actually isn't going to help restore you because the guilt just continues to eat at you and eat at your like energy reserves and your creative reserves. Like being able to actually take an intentional break, whether it's a day, a week, a month, whatever, and truly have no guilt about it, like that is what will allow the healing to happen and allow you to get back to the writing when you're ready.
Right. Quote the other day and I forgot it. It was something about like love is an unleashed dog. And it's just like allowing yourself to like do what you love and just like not let guilt get in the way. Just whatever brings you comfort, do it. Like if rereading a book brings you comfort instead of reading your whole stack of TBR that you're about to take over, do it. Do what makes you feel good.
The guilt that you feel from taking a break are lizard brain's way of trying to keep us safe from a saber-toothed tiger that doesn't even exist.
And it's also trying to make sure that we don't get shunned by the group in that like hustle culture, push, rest is laziness. Like when you're sort of in that, and we've all been sort of like taught that mindset. I won't say all, but like, most folks raised in the West, and I'm sure most places. So when you go against that, your brain is like, they might shun us. And historically, like if you were kicked out, like you would die because like you would not have food, warmth, shelter, community. And so you would succumb to the elements. So there's like that like DNA imperative to like fit in.
Damn.
I feel like we're kind of going through that again now with social media, right? Like, so if you're not producing, if you're not posting about your progress and your new cover and your new book and your new deal, people are going to forget about you. So it's like the fear of missing out has replaced our caveman like instincts that are we going to survive or are we going to be accepted by the group?
A year ago now, I was doing YouTube videos for my Dork Witchery channel every day, a couple times a day. I would just find anything in my office to like talk about, a book to flip through, a deck to flip through, anything. And there was all of a sudden one day where I'm like, I don't feel like doing it. And I'm like, should I feel guilty about that? No, it's my choice. Nobody's paying me to do it. I have like 8 to 9 viewers every time, and that's awesome. But like, they're not going to be upset if I don't do it. And if they are, that's their problem, not mine. And I haven't been interested in doing that as frequently. And I think that's okay. And yes, there could be some ADHD involved in that, but it was fun back then. And it's okay just to follow that fun when I'm recharging. And right now for me, it's watching Supernatural and gardening and playing with my dogs and switching the laundry when I remember to.
Yeah, you're allowed to cater to your specific needs, right? Like you don't have to form it around what, I don't know, the quintessential routine should be.
Yeah. So, and this is, I think, a great one to kind of end on. So if you could go back and you can pick if that's 2008 you or you with that first agent, what advice would you today, sort of like on the sort of eve of your debut book release, like what advice would you have for those earlier versions of yourself?
I would definitely tell myself to relax, to be kinder to myself and to just like enjoy other things. besides writing, to like not put all my mental health eggs in one basket, to like enjoy my kids growing up, even though I did, and we've done so many awesome things, but just like enjoy the whole process of it basically, and focus on things that make you happy. And that's what I'm learning now, which I hope past me could have, you know, been a little easier on herself.
Yeah. So now I'm going to hurt your brain, but I want to see if you'll come with me. So I want you to think about you 5 years from now. You've got like 3 or 4 books out, living your best life. What is that version of you, and what advice does she have for you today?
Oh,
when you said like 5 years from now, picture like your ideal life, I'm here thinking like I live by the ocean and I'm like outside in my patio drinking a coffee. Right?
Yeah, I love that for you.
Man, what advice would I give myself now? I guess overall the same thing, like enjoy the whole process of debuting and don't worry too much about the little things that make this a marathon rather than a sprint. You know, like you want to build a career for the long run, not for the short term. So just go easy on yourself. You know, like you still have plenty of time to do all the things you want to do, and you'll reach those goals. And you will get that beachfront property.
yeah.
Oh, yeah, you will.
And Erica's on her way now. It's only like 2 hours from me. Hey, well, I want to land this plane. I mean, I don't. I'll just circle the airport for like 6 more hours with you two. Vanessa, if you could change anything about the industry, what would it be?
Definitely more diversity in not just the books, but in who's running the show. Like, come on, give us some more perspectives and compensate writers more.
Is there anything we haven't asked that you wanted to talk about?
Not really. I just wanted to thank you both again for like inviting me here and having this my first experience with podcasting, because I'm a very nervous person. And just having 2 friends with me here has been comforting, and I love you both.
I love you too. Oh, actually, yeah, for anybody wondering, this is really random. The 3 of us have each met one of the other. Vivi, you've met both of us in person. Yes. I originally met Vanessa at the Orlando SCBWI conference. Was it 2018-ish?
Where you saved me.
I saved myself by pretending I knew you. Like you were in this mixer in this room of awkward writers, like, and illustrators. Some people weren't being awkward, but you can tell your own kind when you're looking at her. And I'm like, she looks just as uncomfortable as I do. I bet she wouldn't punch me if I talked to her. So I'm like, hey, hi, are you uncomfortable too? She's like, oh yeah, stand by me.
Be my best friend.
I'm not like the rest of the conference. It was amazing. And then recently, the 2 of you had your agent sponsor or host a retreat up at the Highlights Foundation. Is that right?
Yeah, it was so good. Yeah, and it's so fun when you meet like your internet friends in real life, and it's like, oh, you're a real person. You have legs.
Oh my God, I didn't think about you having legs, Isabel. I've never seen your legs. I don't know that.
They're great legs.
Nice stems.
To wrap us up, Vanessa, why don't you tell us where to follow you online, where to get your book, when it's coming out, and then we'll get out of here.
Okay, so if you want to follow me on Twitter, it's at Vivi Montalban. Same thing on Instagram. And you could go to vanessamontalban.com to pre-order my book, or bookshop.org, Barnes and Nobles, Amazon. I'm there.
And when does it come out? August sometime?
Yeah, August 29, 2023.
Hey, thank you both. I love you both. Love you, listener, as a friend. And we'll be back next month with the next episode, probably. Thank you, guys. This is awesome, guys. Love you all. Okay. Bye.